This is Robert Martellacci, the MindShare Learning Report, Canada's Learning and Technology e-magazine, and welcome to MindShare TV. And today we're closing out another transformative year. It's been a remarkable year in EdTech with a very special guest, Victor Rivero, who is the publisher of EdTech Digest in the U.S. Victor, thank you for joining me today.
My pleasure, Robert.
Well, a little bit about Victor. As I mentioned, he's the editor-in-chief of EdTech Digest, a leading publication dedicated to connecting people in and around education technology, and oversees the EdTech Awards, the world's largest awards program for education technology. He's also executive producer of the Future Focus Forums, F3, convening with top U.S. school district technology leaders, with tech industry product and marketing leaders, held before FETC, which is upcoming in about 3 weeks, that we'll be at as proud media partners, COSIN and ISTE. With over 2 decades of experience in the field, Victor is a storyteller at heart, committed to showcasing transformative innovations and passionate leaders driving them. Well, Victor, as always, a pleasure. Let's dive into our conversation and unpack what a dynamic and remarkable year in EdTech it's been.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been so much going on, and there always has been, but I think in the last couple of years, it's amazing that I have to say it. The Chat GPT, OpenAI, generative, language learning models, all that has really kind of. You think the pandemic would have stirred it up enough right there, but post-pandemic, as we come into this post-pandemic era, we're really in a generative AI era and an AI-driven learning era.
Yeah, definitely one of the most defining moments. And we and I'll share my screen here with respect to AI. We Jeffrey Hinton, recent Nobel Prize recipient, is actually University of Toronto professor emeritus. So that was kind of cool to be able to share that news yesterday in our annual top 24 for 2024. And you couldn't ignore it this year. And definitely in Canada, we tend to be about a year behind than the US when it comes to the uptake of innovation. Culturally, we're more conservative. Typically, teachers like to kick the tires. We've learned so much from our American friends and are grateful for that. Talk to me about some of the tools that, like, we recognize Canva as an example of one of the most ubiquitous tools because it democratizes, puts the tools of creativity tools in the hands of the end user, and they've infused AI. I mean, globally, it's we would suggest it's one of the most used tools.
Yeah,
and free.
Yeah, I think so. There's definitely a lot of tools out there. I mean, we track them every day. Cool Tools is one of our awards, part of our EdTech Awards program. And there's hundreds and hundreds upon hundreds of tools in EdTech. And so many of them, I think, whereas before, AI was a category in our awards program. Now it's still a category, but everything has AI embedded in it to some degree. And now there's going to be people out there that say, well, what is AI? Let's define AI. And then how much AI does it really have? And are they just using that as a sort of a marketing ploy? So there's a spectrum of AI and then what is AI and what's it used for? So I think that's one of the challenges that we have this coming year is how to just kind of back up and undercut the whole conversation and help educate people, because after all, we're educators, we're technologists. So, and we need to be communicators and really help people along this AI driven learning journey and help them understand what they're really looking at. So what is AI? What are
Right.
the different areas of AI? I mean, there's adaptive learning, there's VR and AR, there's immersive learning and gamification, and then how do they have AI incorporated within them? I think most people's introduction to AI has been just in the last 2 years when they started to play around with OpenAI's Chat GPT, but
Right.
there's dozens, if not hundreds, of things that are forming as we speak. So
Yeah, well said. It makes me reflect back, some 20 plus years ago when I was launching the learning company, and Mr. Wonderful Kevin O'Leary was our fearless leader at the time. And it was around the .com era. And remember, is the .com, is AI the new .com? In terms of jargon and trends, right?
yeah,
Everyone wanted to be a .com. There were .coms in the company uh, uh, titles, right? Brands, and really that everyone became a .com for all intents and purposes.
yeah, yeah. It does definitely have echoes of that for sure. Because there's another thing happening. There's excitement. I think there's a little
Right,
more anxiety this time around about like what's going to happen because we're out of the pandemic. We're into in the U.S. We're coming into a new administration.
right.
There's the end of funding, the ESSER funding. Uh,
Yes,
there's a lot of uncertainties, and there's also this consolidation that's happening. Where mergers and acquisitions, and then also there's some people call it a rationalization. I don't know if that's the word. Maybe a
right.
justification of why are we using this particular ed tech, because there's so much ed tech in schools that it's unmanageable, and what do we
Well
really
said.
need, and
Yeah.
then that ties into the evidence-based movement.
Right. And to that point, we released through our not for profit C21 Canada a use case project. We released a dozen or so use cases from administrative level at the most senior level of principal project and teacher projects. And it's really about demystifying uh, AI, and really it's about using the right tool at the right time. We just came off our 15th Canadian EdTech Summit in November, and there was a lot of technology, a lot of conversations about the human connection and the importance of human connection in the new era of AI. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that we piloted this past year in 2024, and it was our inaugural year, was the Future Focus Forums, or F3 for short. So EdTech Digest presents Future Focus Forums, and we do that before FETC, COSN, and ISTE, those three main shows for EdTech in the United States. And we're doing that because you're absolutely right that human connection is not just vital, but I think that's part of the whole future. If you're looking at trends into the future, I think that's one of the major trends. It has to do with leadership, with human-centered leadership, and with connecting with people, and not just remotely. I mean, this is wonderful. I love connecting with you in this format as well. But I can't wait to see you. When it
Yes.
comes to the one of my favorite things is the singing together with doesn't mean I'm a great singer or
At the
great.
Can-Am event, our 31st one. So looking forward to that on the Thursday of FETC at 5:30
Yeah.
in the atrium. Yeah. No, it's and this is where demystifying AI and coming to the realization for educators that it's that human connection that is irreplaceable. So there's always that fear factor, particularly with newer teachers and those who haven't embraced the technology, that, oh, is this going to replace me? How many times have we heard that in our career? I'd be wealthy if I got a dollar for every time that came up. And it's so important to really understand that the value proposition of the technology versus the teacher. And the teacher, talk to me about the importance of the teacher. And do you have any teachers in your mind that inspired you along the way.
Oh, absolutely. I can speak to all of that. So, well, first of all, there's a phrase that AI or technology can never replace a teacher. I think we have to amend that statement. And I might say something controversial here, but it can. A bad teacher, absolutely. But I think that it can never replace a good teacher. And I think because a good teacher really is unique because of their humanity. And so far, I don't think AI has a soul. So
Yeah.
maybe that's coming, but I don't know if that's possible. And I think that's what makes teachers so unique and irreplaceable. And so when they're doing good teaching and they're helped and they're supported and they have the right, that's one of the things. I'm digressing here, but uh, over the last, you mentioned the last couple of decades, looking back, one of the things that I've always heard in ed tech or in education was people are screaming for professional development that is really meaningful and is truly helpful. So I've seen good examples of that. I mean, edweb.net does wonderful.
Right.
Our friend Lisa Schmucky.
Monkey, of course.
Yeah. I mean, I think what they're doing, and that's another way to look at trends too, is you just go into what they're doing and you'll see the trends because those are real things that are needed and wanted by educators today.
And you raise a very good point about, the importance of teacher training and professional development, and to meet the demands of the technology-driven classroom. Like, what are you seeing in terms of best practice at the faculty of education level? Who's leading the way? They should be leading the way, and some of the companies that are edtech companies are out there are really embracing the professional learning as a service.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, one thing I like to do is look at who is entering the EdTech Awards, and then we have a professional development category. And there's always interesting things happening in that area, and some of it is by companies that have been in there for a long time and really understand the sector and know what they're doing. There's there's quite a few companies out there that are dealing directly with that. I mean, one that comes to mind is EdThena. But there's more. Adam Geller from EdThena, he's doing a lot of very interesting stuff. There's another gentleman out there. His name escapes me. He's on LinkedIn. He's always saying, and you might find this too. You find somebody and they're just making sense. And so when somebody's making sense, it's like, oh, that's a beautiful thing. But I would just say, it's an important area for sure, and not to be neglected is teacher professional development, teacher learning, and supporting teachers in their journey.
I had the honor of visiting some of the faculties of ed in the U.S., particularly University of Central Florida comes to mind, in the Innovation Center there. Are you seeing transformation happening where teacher training, formal training, in-service training, pre-service training, that is game changing?
I think it's not happening fast enough. I think that one of the ways it can sort of evolve is because there's younger, newer teachers coming in, and then they have a different way, like millennials or Gen Z. Different generations kind of coming in, and then there's change that happens that way. But I think it could even happen faster, and so that takes some of that human-centered leadership that we were referring to earlier.
I have to ask you about the EdTech Awards because they closed, and it's become a real tradition and a lot of excitement come March, the Ides of March, perhaps. What's the timing of that, and what might we expect this year?
Yeah, well, judging is underway, and it goes through all the way till about February 14th, and then we start to kind of get it all together, and there's judging that continues to happen after that all the way into early March. So by the Ides of March or by St. Patrick's Day, we like to have some people feeling luckier and fortunate to to be among those that are honored. We have a lot of finalists. There's, of course, mathematically speaking, there's not as many winners, but those are interesting to look at, all the winners. And we've been around for 15, probably going on 16 years doing this, and so it's been a learning experience, and it's been great. And I think there's a lot of different categories that we have, and if you're really looking to see the trends in ed tech, then that's a good place to start. Just seeing who are the winners and finalists from 2024, and you can kind of look down that list and get a real good sense of what's happening in the ed tech world.
Absolutely. I noticed it's snowing on your website. That's kind of cool. And we had snow yesterday here in Toronto, so I could really relate to that.
Well, I'm originally from Vermont, and so and now I'm in Florida, and we don't get as much snow in Florida, so I have to make it snow one way or the other just to kind of bring back that old tradition.
Well, it's good of you to keep the tradition going, and there you go, virtually speaking. Listen, we're going to see each other in a very short time. The Future of Ed conference is fast approaching. We are both very involved with that as media partners. Talk to me about why educators in EdTech should attend this conference.
Yeah, well, it's the place to be, really. I mean, there's so much happening at that particular conference. Also, it's in a warm spot. So for people that are tiring of the cold, because I think right around this time of year, they're, or in January at least, they're starting to become snowbirds and want to move down here for a little bit to enjoy the warmer weather. But so that's another reason to come. But Jen Womble, the chair there, has really put together an amazing show. She does this year after year. She is somebody I think so many people look up to. I look up to her because she has so much energy, and there's an open umbrella that happens where she's able to invite. It's very invitational. She's all these different people. There's a lot of things coming up with that. It's always a very exciting show. The buzz, the energy, the vibe of the whole thing. It's a little earlier this year, so it's gonna, usually it's toward the end of January. Now it's like kind of in the very middle, if not early January almost. So, people come back on Monday, January 6th, generally speaking, and this is a week later, and bam, we're gonna
be. Well, for those of us that are in the north, it's definitely a welcome time frame to come down into the warmer climate, but really, it is about community and connection and seeing the latest trends. And, Guy Kawasaki, the legend, the former Apple evangelist, we studied him at Pepperdine when I was doing my master's in EdTech. He's a notable global influencer around the future of work and learning. And he's a Canva evangelist who introduced me to Canva at South by Southwest some 8 years ago. And changed my life.
Wow. That's exciting. You tend to be around interesting people like Mr. Wonderful. Now there's that.
Well, and Victor Rivero as well. So, I'm blessed, it really is about community and connections and collaboration. The informal learning is just as important as the formal learning, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I think so many people, we learned that through the lessons of the pandemic. I keep referring to that, but it really has changed quite a bit with learning, just because of the hybrid learning that came of it. And then it stayed, this hybrid learning stayed. And then we realized, what we really do lean on for technology and education. And it was a catalyst, really.
Any peering into 2025, any predictions? More of AI to come, no doubt, but a lot of consolidation we're seeing. And the notion of personalized learning, there's a lot of promise around achieving that. And thoughts from your perspective?
Yeah. Well, personalized learning is something that, we've talked about since the days of the personalized computer, the PC, right? And so it's kind of an old idea, but it's gaining new traction just this coming into this new year because I believe because um, that promise, I mean, that's the ideal thing in education. Could you have a teacher and a student, and that's 1-to-1 ratio?
Right.
And that's impossible, right? Because then you'd have to have, millions of teachers and millions of students, and it doesn't line up, right? There's 30 teachers and or 30 students and one teacher, right? But with AI driven learning, you could have 30 teachers and one student. You could, or you could at
Right.
least have that one-on-one ratio. So the promise of education and learning at scale, learning, with
And
that.
differentiated, leveraging the tools in AI. I mean, I use it every day. How about yourself? Do you find yourself leveraging AI on a daily basis?
I do. I play around on OpenAI, the Chat GPT. I do
Yeah.
Grok, for image generation. I
Oh,
do.
cool.
Yeah, I'm like it's like a little sandbox. I'm playing around with all kinds of
Yeah.
different things.
Is Grok the one that's embedded in X?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so as you said, earlier, there's thousands of tools.
Mhm.
It's really, leveraging the right tool at the right time in your toolbox is what I subscribe to. Just I'm literally, now I'm going to be installing a garage door opener for my son at his new place over the holidays. So you need to use specific tools to get the job done. And it's no different from being in a classroom or being behind a podcast camera as we are in what we do on a daily basis in achieving our communication with our as media outlets that we are.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I even hear there's going to be a new, an improved press room at FETC. So I'm looking forward to seeing some of that technology that they're going to put there. But yeah, really looking forward to FETC, really looking forward to 2025. I'm feeling grateful for everything that's happened in 2024.
Likewise, we
Yeah.
have such a wonderful community of impactful education and industry leaders who really care about the industry. Talk to me about that as we wrap up. How unique we are to other sectors because people come into this. It's not for the money; it's for the impact, and it's about community and relationships. Very much relationship based.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you.
Yeah,
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. I think, it's a very inclusive, inviting atmosphere. It's unlike any
well
other. I
said.
really do. I really think it's unlike any other. I mean, I'm not going to put down like, uh, you know, other industries, but I just feel like our industry is more purpose driven than just about any other industry because it deals with two subjects that are never, ever, really, ever going to go out of style, which are the future, which is the future generation. So
Right.
students of all ages, the young at heart, and the young and the young at heart, and so learners. And then the other side of that is technology, and what technology really represents is like from a garage door opener, a film strip actor, all the way through to the latest with AI. It just there's a it symbolizes that how to get something done, and we're always looking as human beings. We're looking to do things better, more efficiently, improve our lives, and improve the quality of our lives. And so those two things together, while there's EdTech, you have something really special.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, very well said. Always a pleasure. Thank you for your insights, Victor, for joining us on this special year in review episode. It's been an incredible year in EdTech, and your perspective always adds so much depth in the conversation. To our listeners, thank you for tuning into MindShare TV as we look into the new year. Let's continue to inspire and innovate and empower the future of education and our learners. We love having our co-op students here and helping them thrive and become problem solvers. Don't forget to subscribe to both EdTech Digest and the MindShare Report. I'm your host, Robert Martellacci, and until next time, stay healthy, stay safe, and keep the learning curve steep.